Early in the new year, I received a call to make an emergency trip to New York for a funeral service, and had to make an emergency trip to New York for a funeral service. A childhood friend from Northport had died. It was a shock. She was only 42 when she died of ovarian cancer. I called Richard Oriel, the company manager, and told him I had to go home. I knew I couldn't miss very many performances, so I had my travel agent book a round trip on the Concorde. The plan was to go to the funeral, stay overnight, and head back to London the next day. I was only going to miss one performance. I'd be back in plenty of time for the evening show. Or so I thought. This was January of 1994. The East Coast was in the midst of another snowy winter. It was blizzard after blizzard. I boarded the Concorde the day after the funeral. We were supposed to take off at 9 a.m., but an hour later we were still on the ground because they were de-icing the plane. Even though it was only a 3-hour flight, I knew that between getting through customs and getting through London traffic, I was in trouble for making the 8 o'clock curtain. I asked the flight attendant if there was a phone on board and explained to her that I was performing on stage in the West End. I needed to call the theater to let them know I was going to be late. "We have no phone," she said. "This is the Concorde." I still don't know what they meant. The plane goes so fast so they couldn't possibly have phones in it. I fell asleep and slept through takeoff. When I woke up, we were airborne, and there was a note by my tray table that said, "The captain would like to see you." What did I do wrong? Was my first thought. I pushed the call button, and the flight attendant took me up to the cockpit. I felt like I was going to the principal's office. They opened the door, and there I was in the cockpit of the Concorde with a true force of nature, Captain Terence Henderson. "Take a seat right there, young lady." He pointed to the engineer's seat. I sat down, my eyes saucers as I stared at the cockpit controls. It was Star Wars, I swear to God. I understand you want to make a phone call. Whom do you want to call?" he asked, picking up a phone. "I have to call the stage door of the Adelphi Theater to let them know I might not be there tonight," I said. He finally got a dial tone somewhere over Nova Scotia, made the call, and Graham, our stage doorman, answered. "Hello, Adelphi Theatre, Graham speaking." "This is Captain Terence Henderson of the Concorde calling. We'd like to speak to Miss Tina Marshall," he said, then handed me the phone. Graham had a very distinguished voice, but it leapt 2 octaves when this statement sunk in. "Tina, pick up the phone!" I heard him squeal. "Hello, Tina speaking." "Tina, it's Patti! I'm on the plane, but I'm gonna be late!" I screamed. "Call really useful and find out if they'll hold the curtain, or should I just go home?" "Can I call you back?" she asked. "No, you can't call me back!" I almost said. "This is the Concorde, we don't have phones!" But then I remembered I was on one. "Oh, yes, she can," my captain said. "Call 1-800-CONCORD." What? No way! "Tina, call 1-800-CONCORD." We hung up, and at that point, Captain Henderson swung around in his captain's chair and bellowed, "You'll go on tonight and you'll give the performance of your life!" "The audience did not pay to see an understudy. They paid to see you. Now get some rest. We'll get you there. No worries." What the fuck just happened? I went back to my seat, fell asleep again, and woke up to another little note on my tray table. This one said, "They'll hold the curtain." Now come on, if I stunk in the part, would they bother to hold the curtain? That's my question. Anyway. We were close to landing. I found the flight attendant and said, "I have to vocalize. I have to get ready for the show." "Well, you can use the galley," she said. The Concorde was already loud, tiny but loud. I could see passengers turning around and looking in my direction, wondering what was going on. I was hidden behind a little curtain, but they could still hear me doing my vocal warm-up. I don't think I sold any tickets based on that performance. When we landed, I was rushed off the plane first. A British Airways special agent met me and whisked me through customs and immigration. We hit the floor running, and I ran through a very long terminal. I jumped in the waiting car, hoping the traffic would be light. It was now 7:15, 7:20, 7:30, I was still vocalizing in the poor driver's ear. By the time we left into Maiden Lane, I could see Richard Oriole holding the stage door open, looking down the lane. We screeched to a halt. It was 20 minutes to 8. I raced up to my dressing room. Stage management continued making the calls over the tannoy. 20, 10, beginners please. It was now 8 p.m. All the while, I was chattering up a storm at my dressing table while Caroline Clements was pinning my hair. I was putting on my makeup and Murray Lane was dressing me as best he could. The stage manager called to check in. How much longer will you be, Patty? She asked. I was standing pacing the floor. I'll be ready in... I'm ready, I said. I was costume wigged and the makeup was on my face. We all stood there in a daze. I have no idea, but I'd done it all in 18 minutes. Murray and Caroline had calmly worked around me while I talked their ears off. On a regular show day, the process would have taken 2 hours. We went up on time, and stage management told me I cut 2 minutes off the show that night.